hired by one of the parties to do marketing work. And Paul, good morning. Thank you for coming in this morning. Andrew, could you just sit there and let the mic be up there?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You'll be thinking we did that to you on purpose. I don't want you to think that. Good morning. So I ask this way, why should people look to you to be Oneida County's next family court judge?
Sure. Well, I focused my practice for the last 12 plus years on family court, having handled several thousand cases. Every judge, I think, needs to be fair and impartial, but in family court, you also have to be caring, understanding, and compassionate to the families that you serve.
Yeah.
I think that my experience, as well as my experience in other roles, will assist me on the bench. One of the issues we're dealing with now is the raise the age legislation, where 16 and 17-year-olds are going to start to go to family court as opposed to criminal court.
That's going to put a lot of burden on. That was one of the claims, one of the complaints about this. An awful burden on an already burdened family court.
Yeah, it is. It's going to add numbers, and
yeah.
Family court, I think, as you know, is the busiest court in the state. Handles about 60% of all cases, so it does add more. But I fortunately have been, I've had the experience to do both criminal defense work and prosecutorial work as a part-time DA. So I feel that I'll bring a good balance to the bench.
You are, boy, family court sees so much, and we look at so many different complicating things. You have the internet today and phones, and just everybody seems to be able to have more things to get in trouble with. But then there's drugs. A lot of things influencing the family court, which makes it a very, very tough court.
It does, and substance abuse is a huge problem. As most people know, there's a significant heroin epidemic that's in the area. I've had a lot of experience with substance abuse clients. I've been part of the family treatment court for both children and parents that I've represented, and I was the first attorney in the juvenile treatment court we had started a few years ago to help out children because, as most people know, substance abuse often starts in those earlier years, in those teenage years. So it was a great specialized court.
You know, I spent time in family court. A lot of people have spent time in family court. It's a tough place to go, and you're giving the court the opportunity to make the decision.
Yeah.
What do you think about these groups like Peacemaker and?
Sure. Yeah, the Peacemaker program is wonderful. I'm sorry. The Peacemaker program is wonderful. I've worked with them many times. They're very dedicated to the families that they get involved with. I've also won their Law Guardian of the Year award twice. So I think that they are wonderful for the court. We need to utilize them as assets more frequently, too.
And Law Guardian, today it's we've switched from Law Guardian, right? It's more of an attorney for, and this is something that's tough for parents to sometimes understand. Right. If you're the Law Guardian, or what do they call it?
Attorney for the child.
Attorney for the child, you owe your loyalty to the child.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's two different roles. When they're very young, you advocate for what you believe is in the child's best interest, which is ultimately what the judge has to decide in most cases, what is in the child's best interest. But as soon as they can tell you their position, then you have to advocate for their position, which can create some difficulties. But that's why you have to rely on the system and understand that each parent or their attorney advocates for them. The attorney for the child advocates for the child or children, and then the judge ultimately makes the decision. So there
was a time when it seemed that men and women did not get the same treatment in the court system. Has that changed?
Yes, it has. I mean, 40 or 50 years ago, there was a strong maternal preference. The law now is crystal clear. You start in the middle and do what is in the best interest of the child. There is no preference for either the mother or the father. So throughout the case, you analyze the facts and the evidence, and then if you have to, you sway from one side to the other. But there absolutely is no preference. It's completely fair and impartial as far as when you're analyzing which parent should have custody.
Yeah. Finally, I'll ask you, not as if this is the end, because I'm sure we'll talk to you again before Election Day. And, of course, November 7th is Election Day. But on that day, why should people choose you as family court judge?
Right. And we talked about this a little earlier. I have a lot of experience in family court, having handled several thousand cases. But my heart is in family court. A lot of attorneys ask you, why do you do this? Because you don't have to do family court.
Right.
But the way I see it, when a family comes to family court, they are in crisis. They need our help. And everyone, as you mentioned yourself, Mr. Keeler, we have an attachment to family court, whether the person individually has been there or their family members, their relatives, their friends, or neighbors. So you need to have someone on that bench that truly cares about the family and serves them when they're often at their worst. So, and I would bring that to the bench.
All right. Well, listen, we appreciate your time. We will do it again.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
And under 50 days or just over 50 days now, it's coming quickly. So.
It is coming fast.
Yeah. Although it seems like it's the middle of summer right now, 85 and sunny. All right. Thank you so much for
thank you, Mr. Kaler.